Good morning and welcome to Daily Tanya. Today is Tuesday, the 6th day of Nisan, and we are holding at the end of chapter 38 in the Tanya. Let's begin with Tzedakah. Tzedakah brings Mashiach closer. So, in this chapter, the Alter Rebbe discussed the mitzvahs, the action of the mitzvahs versus the kavanah, the intent, the feeling, the mindfulness of the mitzvah. And we explained in length that the mitzvah without a kavanah is like a body without a soul. And he compared the mitzvahs to the body and the kavanah, the intention, the mindfulness, the feelings of the mitzvah. That is like the soul of the mitzvah. Then yesterday we continued to go more into details. And Alter Rebbe explained that just like there is the 4 categories in creation, the inanimate and the vegetations, the animals and humans. And the same thing, this in the mitzvahs and kavanah, they also correspond to these 4 categories. Because really, it says the whole entire world was created. It's all about serving God. So the more we understand the depth of the Torah, the mystical part of the Torah, the inner part of the Torah, we reveal more and more how the different details and the elements and the categories that exist in the world, they exist only for one purpose, to serve Hashem. So these, it says, Hashem put the world in their heart also. And it's all about, just like there is in the world, the physical world, you have these 4 categories. These also, they reflect the spiritual categories in Torah and mitzvahs, as we will explain. So we said, yesterday we spoke about the first 2 categories, the inanimate and the vegetations, and that they correspond to the mitzvahs, different types of mitzvahs. The mitzvah that is done without kavanah is like an inanimate object. And again, we have to clarify that a mitzvah, when you do a mitzvah, godliness is the godliness, it is not concealed. The godliness is revealed in that sense, meaning anything in this world conceals godliness. When you look at something, you don't see godliness. You see a physical thing. But when a mitzvah is done, this is godliness revealed. There's no hester panim, because the mitzvah is the will of Hashem, the ultimate will of God. So even when you do a mitzvah without kavanah, godliness is there. But it's only the body of it. It's not with the kavanah, it's not with the life, with the feeling, meaning the level of godliness to be revealed in us is not as when we do it without the kavanah, without the intent. So this is the mitzvah that you do with action. Then the mitzvahs that is done with speech and with thought, like studying Torah and understanding, those are mitzvahs that are compared to the vegetations, because they have more life to it. Just like when you speak, you can see more life. You can appreciate more than what is inside of you compared to when you do something. When you do something, it's subjective. You're doing an act. You don't know what the act reflects. But when you speak, the tone of voice, the way you speak, that can tell the inside of you. And certainly thought is revealing within you more life. So those are the mitzvahs that are done with speech and with thought. Those mitzvahs are in the level of tzamayach, of the vegetations. And then now the Alter Rebbe is going to explain that the kavanah of the mitzvahs, the mindfulness, the feelings of the mitzvahs, and appreciation of why we do the mitzvah to connect to Hashem, that is also divided into two categories. And these are the categories of the animal, it's like souls of animal and souls of humans. Because what is the difference between animal and humans? They both have, in a certain extent, to a certain extent, they both have intellect, but the human can use the intellect and connect to it and change because of his intellect. The animal cannot change. The animal has some intellect, but the animal is bound to his instincts, using the intellect to serve his instinct. The human has the ability to create emotion based on the intellect. So this is what Alter Rebbe is going to explain now, that when you do a mitzvah with kavanah, in the higher form of kavanah, when you invest and you're able to contemplate on the greatness of Hashem, as a result of this contemplation and you will create feelings. It will lead you to feel and appreciate the greatness of Hashem, and ultimately lead you to obviously to do the action. This is the kavanah that is in the category of a human soul. But not everybody is capable of that level, and some people are only capable to arouse within themselves the natural instinct that we have to be connected to Hashem, the natural love that we have to Hashem, and that is compared to the level of the soul of animal. Ultimately, what we need is to use as much as we are able to use. Not everybody is capable to use the highest level, but we certainly are able to try to achieve as much as we can. So let's see inside what the Alter Rebbe says. There we go. So we're talking about the difference between the souls of having the soul that is human and souls that is animalistic. Says the Alter Rebbe, and it begins with a higher level. The first level is that of a person discerning enough to know God and to reflect on His greatness. Person is able to contemplate and to create out of his understanding a lofty fear in his mind and the love of God in the right part of his heart, which is explained in earlier chapters. The right side is the seat of the divine soul's emotions. So that his soul thirsts for God, seeking to cleave to Him. How do you cleave to God? By fulfilling the Torah and His mitzvahs, which is the light, the Hashem's divine will. By fulfilling the Torah and mitzvahs, which are the extension and illumination of the Ein Sof light upon one's soul, by which one may cleave to Him. This is the way to cleave to Hashem, is by having Hashem's will connected to us, to our soul, through the Torah mitzvahs. So when you have this kavanah, and indeed you use this kavanah to actually sit down and study Torah and do the mitzvahs, and to daven. When he studies Torah and fulfills the mitzvahs. It is with this kavanah, and likewise when he prays and recites blessings, it is with this kavanah of cleaving to God, whose greatness he has come to understand. When you're using this, method and connecting to Hashem that way, you reach to the level of the medaber, of human. Such kavanah is analogous to the soul of a human being who possesses intelligence and freedom of choice and who speaks with wisdom. For such kavanah is likewise based on intellect and choice. But then there is a person who is not capable to reach to that level of not just understanding, but also connecting. Sometimes people are very smart, but to take the understanding, what they understand, and to connect to it, and to really feel what they understand, and to act upon it, that is a level of das. Das means connection. It means knowledge, but it means knowing something, means connecting to something. The second level of kavanah is that of a person whose understanding is too limited to know and to reflect on the greatness of blessed Ein Sof. He's not capable so as to create out of his understanding a revealed love in his heart, and also awe in his mind and dread of God in his heart. His level of understanding is inadequate to create a palpable spiritual emotion. So we spoke in the earlier chapters also that to create the feeling of love of Hashem, fear of Hashem, there's 2 degrees. There is a degree of creating of fear and love by understanding, and it becomes really a palpable feeling of love and fear that you feel. It's tangible. You really feel the excitement of it, and you want to connect. But then there is a person is not capable of reaching such a level, but is able to understand, to have a certain conviction in his mind that this is the right thing to do. And he's going to act upon it, but he doesn't change, he doesn't feel it in his heart. But here he's talking about a person who's not even able to create it in his mind. Except a person like that, he merely recalls and arouses the natural love hidden in his heart. So this is what we said, we spoke in there earlier in the Tanya. There is the pintaliyid, the spark of the neshama, in the DNA of every Jew that loves Hashem naturally. And normally that pintaliyid, that spark of the neshama, is not revealed except when his faith is tested. And that we saw throughout the history, when people, even not religious people, but when their ultimate faith was tested, somehow the neshama started to shine, and they couldn't do it. They couldn't go against Hashem. So sometimes a person is not capable of developing a feeling of love and fear of Hashem through contemplation and understanding. You can at least awaken the natural love, and to remember and to think that, to talk about it and think about it, the fact that would it be a situation when your faith would be tested, you would certainly go ahead and give up everything for Hashem. And that remembering will help the person to at least act in the way Hashem wants. So that is the kavana that comes not from understanding, but from awakening the natural love, the instinct that we have. That's why he calls it the animalistic kavana. So when you remember this and you bring it out of concealment in his heart to a state of consciousness in his mind at least, meaning even though you cannot arouse a real love, but in your mind, you come to a real understanding that this is the right thing to do. So that his will in his mind and in the recesses of his heart should approve and consent with complete willingness and perfect sincerity to surrender his life in martyrdom, in actual fact, not merely as a figure of speech, for his affirmation of the unity of God, rejecting belief in any other divinity. That is something that you contemplate, that this is real. Although it's something that comes, you can't see it until a person, God forbid, is tested. But the more you understand it, the more you know about it, that this is real, that this is something that a person would do in order to connect to Hashem. In order to attach to him his divine soul and its garments of thought, speech, and action, and to unite them with his unity, which is identical to the supernal will that is clothed in Torah study and performance of the mitzvahs, as explained above. So this is something that you remember, and as a result, you're doing the mitzvahs and you're studying Torah as a result of that type of kavanah, that type of mindfulness. So that leads to the hidden love that is revealed. And the hidden love also includes in it fear of Hashem as well, because when you love someone so much, you're fearful of losing the connection. That's what Alter Rebbe says. This natural love also comprises fear of God, acceptance of his dominion so as not to rebel against him, God forbid, through sin. So when you have this kavanah, what does the fear lead to? It leads to not to violate the prohibition. The love leads to doing the positive commandments. When motivated by this kavanah, which is born of his innate love and fear of God, one turns away from evil by refraining from sin, and does good by observing the mitzvahs, and studies, prays, and recites the blessings. So how does he do the mitzvahs? How does he have the pray? What level of prayer? He's praying with having in mind the kavanah, the meaning of understanding the words, what you're saying. But it's not a feeling that is really revealed in your heart and emotions. So it's thinking merely of the meaning of the words without conscious love and fear of God in his heart and mind, which would lend emotional intensity to his prayer. So lacking revealed love and fear, he prays only with meaning of the words. So when one fulfills the Torah mitzvahs in this manner, then this kavanah, says the Alter Rebbe, this is like the soul of an animal. This level of kavanah is analogous to the soul of an animal, which possesses neither intelligence nor freedom of choice. וכל מידויסov שאין ירוסם מדבורים המזיקים עושה, והאבוסה לדבורים הנאובים אצלו הם רק טבעיים אצלו ולא מבינוסו ודייתו. An animal, the emotions that the animal has, the fear that the animal fears, it's all natural to the animal. It's not something that comes as a result of his understanding. So the same thing here. So, and that's what Alter Rebbe says, and his emotions and its fear of harmful things and its love of pleasing things are merely natural to it, not a product of his intelligence and understanding. וכך הן על דרך משל, היראה והאהבה הטבעיות המסתוריות בלב כל ישראל. So too, by way of example, are the natural love and fear hidden in the heart of every Jew. They too are not a product of intelligence or choice. It is a natural love that we have. Because they are our inheritance from our patriarchs and are like a natural instinct in our souls, as mentioned above in chapter 18. So this is what Alter Rebbe concludes here, this chapter 38, talking about the Kavanah, talking about the importance of Kavanah, which we'll also discuss in the next chapter, and understanding that there's different levels of Kavanah, and doing the mitzvahs with Kavanah gives life to the mitzvah that we do, just like the soul gives life to the body. So thank you for joining. We'll see you B'ezrat Hashem tomorrow.